Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the November 2020 channel map. This is the first one with my face on it, which tells you things have changed around here. And we'll obviously start with the recap. So I guess the first thing we can talk about is my face. It's on more videos now. It's on Dad Cause. It's on this new Crow Pill series. It's on reviews with the Batman review as an example. And it's on this. So, starting to try to work on my on-camera appearance, basically. Trying to maintain some sort of vigor, some sort of opportunity to remain focused and engaged. And I think, I don't know if it's actually working, but, just do it enough and it becomes second nature. So, working on my broadcast capacity, or whatever you would call that. But there are bigger fish to fry with this particular recap. Obviously, the big thing related to Hydra is the mega patch that is still in development. I thought I was actually going to be dropping it today, but due to some internet issues, that did not end up happening. As a result, we'll have to delay it until maybe another week, which just means more features, more units, more whatever. So whatever, the mega patch continues to grow, but it's definitely been a big focus of, generally speaking, the entire month of November. We also had that pivot from Deliverance into Ahmed Mapcrap style maps, so those will be surfacing relatively soon, because obviously the Full Toilet deadline is the 3rd, and that's in 3 days, or 2 days, 2.5 days, whatever. We had the Batman review, I mentioned that earlier. We had the Crow Pill series come up as well, so these are just like opportunities for me to share some thoughts on industry phenomenon related to the games industry, talk about maybe some elements of development or productivity. Basically, it's like a less heavy way of doing things than the by design videos were, where it's not nearly as, preparation heavy. It's really just, here are my thoughts that I've been thinking about for a long time. I've had a long time to consider these ideas. Now it's time to put them into video context. And so those were going daily for the first 8. I took a bit of a break, and I'll be coming back with some more relatively soon, but they will be a very frequent thing on my channel. It was never an attempt or idea that I would be doing them daily. It just, that's how it happened. But I definitely think that I can continue doing that relatively regularly. So that's something to look forward to in the future. But yeah, the Batman review is finally, it was a mammoth. It was over an hour. And there's very minimal editing. I said this in the description, but basically the Batman review, generally speaking, is like the first of its kind, and there will probably be either more or less editing in the future videos. I'm not sure which. Still trying to figure out a format, because I don't think it's fun. Like, I don't think it's worth making videos that are reviews if it's just going to be a video version, like a face cam activated version of the original style. So I don't think I'll be doing less editing, but it also doesn't really seem to make sense to only do as the minimal kind of editing that I did in that Batman video. There's only a couple of areas where I could have, upon reflection, added some more clips, though. So I have to kind of adapt my speaking style and the bulletproof, or the bullet point ideas that I have to really line up with stuff. And maybe I do just like almost do the original review style of, like, with a face cam, obviously, of sort of ranting about stuff, and then just talk about like whatever I think about the game and across a bunch of different bullet points. And maybe then after that, I use that as the basis for the video, and I edit that into not really a video essay, but a video rant of some kind, like more clips in there or whatever. And maybe I cut down on more points or something. I'm not sure exactly what the sort of format will be, but it was definitely the first one of its kind, and I think we'll see more of them as time goes on. Obviously, it's not going to be a huge thing on the channel just because I don't complete a lot of games video content wise. That will probably change in the near future. In fact, I've got plans for it to change in this month, but I'll get to that later on. Even so, I don't expect more than like 2 or 3 reviews a month of that kind, because I don't complete that many games a month. So it's just some things to think about. Obviously, other than that, Inconsummate. We had an Inconsummate playthrough. We went through and played the whole damn campaign. We still have to do the wrap-up video. That'll be later on, discussed later on in this video, but obviously later on in this month, I will release that. And maybe there'll be more than one, I don't know yet. But ultimately, the playthrough was completed, and I'm glad about that. That was also a daily thing, by the way. Could not believe that. So yeah, it was nice to finally get that off the list of things that I had to do to myself, sins that I had to commit. But it's done, and now we can focus on the wrap-up video and then move on to another playthrough. So similar to the Batman review, the Inconsummate video is kind of like that for like the wrap up video is kind of like that for the Inconsummate playthrough. So you're going to kind of see that a similar kind of thing in terms of not the format of the video. I think the format of the video will be very much like almost like a mod stream where I'm just like looking through all of the materials, and I don't even know if I'll have my face cam on for that sort of thing. I might decide to throw myself on the corner like I do in the recorded mod streams that I've had to do today and yesterday for the purpose of keeping the streak alive. So stuff like that might be the format. We'll see, but it's sort of a similar function in that I can't really comfortably move on to another video series of like playing Dead Space 2 or something if I still have not done with the Inconsummate series. I'm very particular about that, even though it would be totally like super easy for me to jump in and start doing something completely unrelated, but it's just not something that I think is makes a lot of sense to do right now. So beyond that, we do have some developments over on the second channel. There were a couple of interviews in the last month that were relatively large scale, I would say, and that's just continued on. And aside from that, we had I sent out an application to become an analyst on the broadcast of an upcoming DreamHack tournament. I don't know if I'll get picked for the job, but I think my application was unique, we'll say. So at least I'll turn some heads, and we'll see what comes of that. But ultimately, it's just one of those things where you might as well shoot your shot. You never know what's going to happen. So I think I had a pretty memorable skit for that sort of thing. And aside from that, we got some plans for Brood War and plans for videos and plans for the future. So let's get into that section of the discussion. We do have some stuff related to Full Toilet. Obviously, we still have a couple of days left in the development of that, so I'll be continuing to work on some of those missions. I can't say that they'll be particularly epic, but they will be allowing you to use this Hydra mega patch and essentially the first content that will actually put that to use. The AI may be really dumb. The balance may not be great, and there may be crashes, but at least you'll be playing and Ahmed will be talking, and that's really all I can guarantee the audience of that sort of thing. Aside from that, there will be some playthroughs of not only my content but also iQuare's content. I think the two of us are the only people who have actually released content or are going to release content for Full Toilet. Obviously Veek counts as well because he was with me on Deliverance and then now pivoted with me to the Ahmed thing. So we'll see what happens there, but I suspect it will be very goofy, and I'm looking forward to it just so that we can put the Full Toilet thing behind us. I do have some words to say on the Full Toilet event that happened this time around. I do think that the format was very, very stupid for what is essentially supposed to be map crap, and Balathal had a very, very good suggestion that I actually want to put into practice as soon as possible, and I kind of wish that like as soon as he sent that message to me that had his suggestion, I like time traveled back to when I was starting the Full Toilet event and I like talked about this format instead, because it's so much better than just like working on it for 2 or 3 months or whatever it was and not really having any opportunity to show that much off. Like I posted some stuff with regards to Deliverance development on stream a few times and also on in the Mapcraft channel, and iQuare also had me stream a few of his things as well. It's a little bit different though, because Balathal's format suggestion was that for like an entire month or maybe for 2 months, depending on how long people are interested in doing it, we basically have 1 week out of each month dedicated to making one map. And then at the end of that week, I play them all on stream. And then we go back to like the next section or whatever. So that would be like an opportunity for you to actually build a campaign over time. And like, even if it's just only 1 month, at the end of the month, you have 4 maps if you participated in all of them. Like maybe you decide you're done participating after 2 or 3. But as long as I would say that as long as we have people who are interested, like say a bare minimum of like 2, 3, 4, or 5 participants each week, then that could totally be something that happens. Like somebody could join week 2 and make the first map of their campaign if they missed the first week or something like that. Like that would be totally fine too. So there's a lot of flexibility with that, and it really does jive, I think, with the idea of doing that. Like you could take a week off. You could be like, all right, I'm going to make my 4 map campaign, but since there's 2 months that this is going on, I'll start a couple weeks in and I'll take like week 7 off or something, like you can do that shit, that would be fine. And so that kind of event is a lot more close to the spirit of Mapcraft, and something that I think had it been suggested or had I come up with it before, we definitely would have gone with that. And I think, it would have precluded me from attempting anything related to Deliverance, I think, because I wouldn't have had the same room to actually consider that stuff. But I think we would have had more content and it would have been better for development. and engagement of multiple people. So that's something to think about for the future, but that's not the first event of season 4. I think we'll have one last season 3 style, like regular map crap after Full Toilet to close out the map craps for the year. In fact, if I check my calendar right now, I can sort of check this. So obviously the third, I'm counting like all of this first week as sort of ineligible. And then we can start on like the 20th or 21st of November for the next map crap. We might start sooner if people are more interested in starting on like the 13th or something. These are Fridays, so 13th and the 20th are both Fridays. So we might start one of those 2 days. I'm still not 100% sure about map crap stuff, but yeah, I don't think it'll take too long to get through the Full Toilet playthroughs because there's not going to be that many maps. But ultimately, whatever we do for map craps are going to be relatively standard until season 4 kicks off. And I think we can kick off with a regular event as well, or maybe some sort of themed event that isn't a very long one. But again, we'll see about that. That might be like Christmas crap or something. So anyway, that aside, map crap stuff aside, Full Toilet has been an adventure. I've focused mostly on just building stuff for Hydra, so it's cool in that sense. It was a nice way that I could still work on that, but I feel like I would have worked on that anyway. It almost feels like I didn't really work on anything for Full Toilet beyond the layouts and some tile set and changes and conceptually I did some things, but it doesn't really feel that epic. You know what I mean? So aside from the Full Toilet stuff, the development and then playthroughs and then cleanup and then maybe some map crap stuff later on, we do still have some other plans. So the first one is I do want to commit to remaking the first map of Inconsummate just because the idea is so attractive to me. It's super attractive now that I've played the first map of Inconsummate again and obviously the whole thing. It was just a shit show from start to finish for all maps. But the idea of remaking that map, really the one map I would really want to remake is obviously the 5th map. But we don't have the engine in a position where it can comfortably deal with that. So if I remake the first map, at the very least, I can show you guys what the new briefing would look like, give you like a nice hook into what might have been, and maybe that will develop into a fully fledged campaign if we end up having Brood War in a position where we can actually, have like unlimited in-game units or less limited in-game units, less limited in-game bullets, less limited portrait data, and all this other shit. And like I can actually bring the entirety of the Hydra new game state to bear within the context of Inconsummate. That could be really cool as well. But I can commit to one map, and I will be working on that. I don't know if it'll be done by the end of November. It is only one map, so in theory it could be. But I will be doing that, probably some mod streams or something like that. Obviously, the mod stream streak will end on the 3rd. I don't know if I'll take some breaks immediately or if I'll take breaks a little bit later on, but I think it's fine to just end it after a year. It's certainly been a commitment. I'm impressed that I've been able to keep it up so far for so long. It's definitely something I never thought, this always seemed not necessarily out of reach, but so ridiculous that I wouldn't ever imagine doing it. But here it is. I've done it basically. So there's only a couple more days to go. So that's pretty epic. I'm quite happy about that. And knock on wood that I've also avoided any sort of injuries or health crises that have prevented me from doing this sort of thing. So even when I was a little under the weather or even when I was in pain or something from an injury of some sort, I was still able to actually sit down and get some work done on stream, which was really nice. So counting my blessings there, I guess. But bearing that in mind, I probably still will be developing some content on stream. I just don't know if it'll be Inconsummate content or if I want to keep that under wraps until it's actually developed. I might record development sessions of any project that I do and upload them as unlisted content until the content is out, and then I can release all of the recordings should people want to actually sift through them. But that would be developer content that could probably stay unlisted, honestly, and just have a playlist link somewhere for those who are interested. And, we don't need them to be public necessarily. Though I don't really care either way. It's just something to think about. But I know some people have been interested in the thought process and design process of the original Inconsummate. And now, obviously, I imagine those same people would be very interested in a revisit of that and looking at it in the modern day and how I would do that. So that's additional follow-up video stuff in addition to the wrap-up video for the original project. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, I guess. Because originally I was thinking I should just remake the briefing because the briefing is so fucking long in the original first map. And it would be really nice to have a remade briefing in that sense. Just so that I could show you guys how much I've grown in terms of a storyteller and a presenter of information. But obviously, then I got really, really incentivized to work on an actual map because I had the idea of just remaking one map. And I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. It's only one map. Like, don't have to worry about the whole campaign. You know, the expectations are much lower. So really just make a banging map and have it be like, oh shit, if the rest of this campaign was going to be like this, it would be epic. And then not actually have to deliver on the rest of the campaign, partially because I can't, because the engine is not unlimited enough. But maybe I'll find a way. We'll see. Anyway, that aside, let's talk about some other stuff. So related to Brood War, I do want to make some more updates and extensions to the engine. We want to be able to have unlimited portrait entries on the data side so that we can have custom, if stupid, looking portraits for all of the Hydra units. And that will be a nice way to subtly change certain aspects of the unit's character. Obviously, I have to work on some sounds as well. Hydra development will continue throughout the month of November as well. Obviously, audio visuals at this point are the major things because once this mega patch drops, we've got most of the functionality that we're probably going to get. Like, the rest of it would be general changes, like showing colored wireframes when an ally's unit is inside your dropship or something, or like actually allowing you to unload your own unit or whatever. Like, some of that stuff might not be possible. I don't know. We'll take another look into it once we drop the mega patch and have gotten a little bit further along with some of the other audio visuals. So we'll see. Not sure about that yet. What else do we got here? Definitely want to extend in-game limits and for like units and bullets. Obviously, cannot create more U is a big issue with the whole any sort of large-scale map. Obviously, Stormborn had that problem. Just playing some Hydra maps on like the Mothership melee games on that by Veek. Whew, yeah, we would hit CCMU. Anytime there was like more than 3 Zerg AI, we'd hit CCMU. So, you know, like the situations where you definitely don't want to be hitting that because that's the only way that it feels like maybe if that didn't happen, you could actually win against the AI or something. But there's got to be some way to do that, to handle that. And I do think we have something of a plan for both of those limits once the portrait data stuff is taken care of. So no promises just yet on a timetable, but that is something that we will be making progress on in the month of November. Maybe we'll be even able to ship that stuff. And looking into the future a little bit, something that I don't think we'll get to in the month of November, we do want to release a framework for modders, not just for Hydra, but also if you don't want to use any of the Hydra new game state stuff. I mean, you can't really selectively enable only one or a couple of units or whatever, unfortunately. But if you were somebody who's not really a fan of how heavily Hydra changes the game state, you just wanted to work with just regular Brood War and make your own tech tree changes if you wanted to make any at all, but you wanted to benefit from all of the extensions we've done, all of the tech we've done, and added to the engine such that we actually have functioning AI and we have all this other stuff, that would be something that we would be interested in providing a framework for so that people could actually use it, similar to what the existing framework mod already offers, but going a lot deeper into the, root causes of a lot of problems within custom content, like not being able to create more units or whatever, you know what I mean? So trying to fix some critical bugs and extend some critical arrays that would allow us to have less limited custom content, basically. We want to ship both a Hydra version of that framework and a regular version of that framework once everything is finalized, basically. We can't promise it'll be the most simple thing to use or edit or that it'll be user-friendly whatsoever, because we've got multiple styles of extenders in here just for the sake of actually getting it done. And ultimately, we are still planning on working on our own RTS, so it's not like we're going to be focusing on, maintaining this sort of package. But in theory, there should be nothing about it that, for the average person who just wants to make a campaign or wants to play with a melee mod and doesn't want to have all of these stupid limitations associated with them, it should work under those circumstances, and that's what we can more or less commit to. So that's something that probably we won't even get started on until maybe December at the earliest, but I wanted to throw it in here because it made sense to talk about. We do have some plans to work, like I said, on that new RTS, on the engine for that new RTS. That will start this month as well. I'm not sure how heavy we'll get into it. Veek is obviously the main driver of that particular approach alongside iQuare, and I think Balathal is going to be working with us to put together the editor and some other stuff. So we're still figuring out roles and all that shit. I'll mostly be responsible for conceptualizing data types and trying to figure out essentially a structure for what we need, as well as preparing a bunch of assets to be migrated over such that we will have the opportunity to actually put together whatever we need to put together, basically converting all of the StarCraft graphics to PNG format and all that shit. So we'll figure out something about that, and I'll release progress updates on that probably through DadCause or something as time goes on. But suffice it to say, we'll be getting started on this month. And we also are starting a website for this sort of purchase, or this purpose. I purchased fraudsclub.com. It's not currently operational just yet, but we are getting it underway. I also have some hosting for it. So yeah, in theory, we'll by the end of this month, we'll have something to show for it there. At the very least, we'll have some Hydra-related information there. We might move or migrate some elements of the Wikidot over, but I think the Wikidot will remain as a Brood War-focused thing, and this website will simply have some Hydra stuff that's not possible to host on Wikidot, as well as obviously eventually documentation for the new engine and all that shit. So yeah, there you go. Those are the RTS/Brood War related plans. We'll talk about some video plans now, and then we'll talk about some future plans beyond that. Obviously, I mentioned it before in Consummate's wrap-up video. Want to talk a little bit about that. I definitely want to sort of have a note of finality to this. I don't know how long it will be. I will try to make sure that it's very documented in terms of timestamps of like topics that are covered. And I'll also try to make it so that whatever I'm working on in a given situation, like I'll probably go in depth to editor reviews, like do much more in-depth editor reviews and talk about like certain elements or considerations and making of elements of each individual map. So those will be their own 6 sections. And then I'll probably talk about like story and some other stuff. Obviously, I'm still taking suggestions for what kind of topics you want discussed, but I think I've got enough to actually make the final video at this point. Just have to get around to start the recording process, because I'll probably do it in segments just because of how long this will be. But that being said, yeah, that's essentially going to be the first big video project that I do in November. Other than that, once that is taken care of, I do plan on starting my Dead Space 2 playthrough. Internet willing, that will be a live-streamed production. Huncraft will probably also be a live stream production, and that is also something that I will be attempting after Dead Space 2 is taken care of. And if we get to it in this month, I'll also be tackling the second Fear game. I'm told that the second and third games for this franchise are terrible, so we'll see, is all I'll say there. Otherwise, there is going to be a revival of regular podcast content on this channel. There was the Big Boys table, but with Mesk being indisposed currently, I am going to be starting a new one. I don't know if we'll actually get this off the ground in the month of November, because I am definitely juggling a lot of different things. But this should be something that I can comfortably commit to, at the very least, before the end of the year, starting a couple episodes off. And I don't know if this will be a weekly or like at least a couple times a month or whatever. It really depends on scheduling and all that shit. So more to come on that. Aside from that, on the second channel, there will be more esports content. There's I've already scheduled 2. Well, actually, I have 3 interviews scheduled for this week that we're in now. And so that's actually like the average number that I would like every single week. But the catch is 3 of those are all of the same series. They're all of the semi-pro series. So I would still like to do at least one, Hammer Meet Anvil of my, that's my map making series of interviews. I would still like to do a couple of those a week as well, or at least one of those a week as well. And so we'll see how much content I actually go back to putting up once the full toilet stuff is taken care of. But that's definitely coming. There is an esports talk show that I talked about in the previous channel map that will also be coming. So a lot of video content to look forward to, both on this channel and on the second channel. And hopefully we can get into a real regular grind in that respect. In the future, there is the Age of Empires playthrough that will still be happening, as well as some video essays that will probably be in a similar format to the Batman review, just a little bit. Like once I figure out that format with the Dead Space 2 review and the Fear 2 review, and obviously the Age of Empires review at some point as well. Like those will be things that I want to tackle when I have the opportunity to do so. And when I feel like I've figured out the format for what those videos are going to be. So those will be like Half-Life. I was thinking about doing one for Deus Ex, but I didn't play Deus Ex long enough to deal with that. So I probably won't do one on that. But there's all sorts of different games that I could do video essays on. It could even, in theory, be a more polished version of like a Crow Pill in a way, where I'm just tackling one specific game. So we'll see about that. That's something else to consider. And that's really the end of the channel map here. It was a little bit of a long one. Hope you guys appreciated all of the updates. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will be catching you guys later on for a recorded mod stream, as well as all of the mod streams that will continue to go on once the streak is finished. And, like I said, internet willing, there's going to be a lot more live streamed content that isn't related to mod streams. And I would love to be doing that a bit more often, because I haven't done that in a very long time. Of course, the other thing that I didn't really mention related to live content is I do want to segregate out Counter-Strike and StarCraft fraud nights. So we're calling, like, you could call it Fraudcraft and Fraud Strike or whatever you want to call that. So we will have segregated days for that. Right now, the idea is Saturdays are for Counter-Strike and Sundays are for StarCraft. So hopefully I can commit to those every week. But obviously, depending on scheduling and depending on interest as well, if there's just not enough people, we may not actually hold those events. Obviously, both of those events were canceled this particular weekend because of my internet outage. But going forward, that will not be a consistent thing. And so I will be able to make the Fraud Night stuff a consistent thing. I think that's it. Nothing else is coming to my mind, so I'll go ahead and kill it there. Thank you very much for staying with me during the month of November. And to all new faces, welcome. Obviously, the Crow Pill series ruffled some feathers, pun intended, and some people are very angry in the comment section. But ultimately, some people have decided to take that Crow Pill, or at least they're like, they're on the fence about it. They've got it like on the bridge of their nose, and they're like, I don't know if I should let it fall off my face or roll into my mouth. And, once you figure that out, once you made your decision, you can join us on Discord or whatever, hang out, dude. Kick back, relax, take those Crow Pills, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.